Hello, this is Angelia, and you are listening to or watching the podcast, Why You Do What You Do. The podcast that talks about human development and psychology to maybe help you figure out a little bit more about why you do what you do. And last time we were talking about the aging brain, and we're going to take back up on that. Some of us are getting up there. Along with loss of brain matter may come a gradual slowing of responses, beginning in middle age. And if you ever noticed you're getting a little more clumsy or something, that's probably what's happening. A slowdown of the central nervous system may affect not only physical coordination, but cognition as well. So, we are slowing down, whether we want to admit that or we care or like it. It's tough. It's happening. Not all changes in the brain are destructive. Researchers have discovered that older brains can grow new nerve cells, something once thought impossible, because they used to think you couldn't. Once they're gone, that's it. It's just happening slower, just like everything else as you get older. Evidence has been found of cell division in a section of the hippocampus, a portion of the brain involved in learning and memory. In adult mice, such newly generated hippocampal cells matured into functional neurons. So again, it can happen. It's just not as good as when you were young. These discoveries raise hope that scientists may eventually find ways to use the brain's own restorative potential to cure disorders such as Alzheimer's disease and, probably dementia. And, injuries from stroke, which, would be good news for my husband because, he does have brain damage from his stroke. Sensory and psychomotor functioning. While some older people experience sharp declines in sensory and psychomotor functioning, others find their daily lives virtually unchanged. My dad, he's 83 years old. He's still almost as sharp as he was, when I was a kid. There's some forgetfulness. There's some slowdown, you can tell, processing. But overall, he's still firing on most all thrusters. Impairments tend to be more severe among the old. And remember we were talking about who's the old. People are like 90 to, 120. At this point, not a lot we can do about that. Visual and hearing problems may deprive them of activities, social relationships, and independence. And, that's something that my mother-in-law is going through right now. She's actually in the hospital with pneumonia, so if y'all want to send up a little prayer for her. And, she's lost the ability to walk just within, the past few weeks, even. So that's going to be something we're going to have to deal with. She's going to have to go to rehab and, she may or may not get to come home. So we'll see. And motor impairments can limit everyday activities. New technologies such as corrective surgery for cataracts and improved hearing aids or cochlear implants to correct hearing loss help many older adults avoid sensory limitations. And my father could use some of those. He's too stubborn. He's not going to get them. So is my husband. But, I joke, almost not jokingly, that I got tired of repeating myself. I have to repeat myself too much. And inventors are redesigning the physical environment to meet the needs of an aging population, because more and more people are getting older. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about the pause there. We had packages at the door. My husband was texting me, we have packages at the door. They couldn't, wait in this neighborhood. He's got the security app. I've got it on my tablet, but he's also got it on his phone, so he knew we had packages and I needed to get out there and get the packages for the porch pirates. That's important stuff. Let's see. And inventors are redesigning the physical environment to meet the needs of an aging population. Vision. Many older people have trouble perceiving depth or color or doing such daily activities as reading, sewing, shopping, and cooking. And, I never used to have to, read the back of a box with my reading glasses on, but there was a small box of cupcakes and things I was making for, had a little snowman. But anyway, the print on it was so small, I did have to put my glasses on to read it. So I'm like, I don't like that. Nobody likes that. But most of them I can read without. But that one I had to, so there's some change. Losses in visual contrast sensitivity can cause difficulty reading very small or very light print. Now, I have that problem. My joke is that my arms got too short to read small print, because I have that problem. I have to bring it further away, and then I can focus in on it. But my arms got too short to read really fine print, so I had to get these. Vision problems can cause accidents and falls. And now I know that's true. There was an older guy who my husband hit him, scraped his vehicle because he just pulled right out in front of us. He's like, I thought I could make it, And it's like, wow. He goes, I thought you were further enough away that I could make it. And so, we were like, no. And, my father's fallen a couple times. And he blames things not being in their proper place. He's like me. There's a place for everything, and it should be in its place. But someone moved a rug, and he skidded on that. And then someone moved his step stool to get into his bed, and he fell because it was supposed to be there, but it wasn't. And he had his leg up in the air, and then he slid it under the bed, and his other leg went under the dresser, and he was stuck. He couldn't get out. So he had to lay there till my aunt happened to come and get him, because she was coming there that day. And he said that's why he didn't try to crawl to the phone that day, because he tried to crawl to the phone before. But he said he didn't try that day because he knew she was coming. So he just laid there and let her come get him. And he hit his head pretty good, so he was kind of out of it. And that's why he had to go to rehab and get his leg strengthened and everything, and get his, because I'm sure he had a concussion. They never said that, but I'm sure he did, because, he had a headache and everything. And, he says he thinks he probably had a pretty good concussion for a few days. And, they just overlooked it and didn't worry about it because he was old, probably. But, new environments for an aging population. Because, like I said, with the boomers, and now, my generation's getting there. We're in our 50s, and so we're headed that way. The aging avalanche, and that's what they're calling it here, is changing the physical, social, economic, and political environment as the older population becomes more influential at the polls and in the marketplace. So, the older folks, the boomers, because my generation didn't have as many kids as they did, or, my grandparents did for sure. It's like, in my family, none of my uncles and aunts had natural children. I had one uncle who had stepchildren, another uncle who had a girlfriend and had kids for a while, living with him. But none of my uncles and aunts had natural children. But my great uncles and aunts, all of them did. So, the population is going down. I have 2 kids in their 30s who have not had children. That's still up in the air. And I have a child, who's headed that way, and I keep telling him to wait. But a lot of people, our children's age, and my, I know people who have grandkids and some who have great-grandkids at this point. But people are having less children. So our older folks are the majority of the population now. Engineering psychologists are applying knowledge of age-related differences in perception, mobility, and information processing to the design of safer, more convenient products and services for older adults. So the market is there. As the population continues to age, we can expect further changes in our physical environment and in the products we use. One study found that more than half of the problems older adults encounter in everyday activities could be solved through redesigning products or systems, age-tailored training, or both. Examples of age-friendly changes might include lowering steps on buses, improving chair design, developing more usable tools for grasping or scrubbing, enlarging the letter size on labels, and simplifying the operation and instructions for use of ATM machines. Automated phone menu systems, which we have now, home computers, and home medical devices, such as blood pressure gauges and blood glucose meters, which we have now. Here are more examples of innovation along this line. Some already in place, some still on the drawing boards. Aids to vision. Signals now given visually will be spoken as well. There will be talking exit signs, talking clocks, talking appliances that tell you when they get hot, talking cameras that warn you when the light is too low, and talking automobiles that caution you when you're about to collide with something. Now, we have the street signs here in my town that talk now, as well as, the flashing sign that says walk or whatever. So we have those here. And my husband's new truck also has the ding, 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 ding thing when he's got the parking assist, and also the lane thing where the light comes on if something's coming up on your blind spot, and the ding, ding, ding that says if you're pulling too close to the curb or if you're trying to back up and something's in your way. So they have that now. Windshields will adjust their tint automatically to varying weather and light conditions, and will be equipped with large liquid crystal displays of speed and other information, so that older drivers need not take their eyes off the road and readjust their focus. Now, that is something that would be handy if they put it like in the corner of the windshield and it shows up, because as of right now, my husband's new truck, he has that little screen in the middle of his dash, and so when he wants to look at anything, he has to look at the dashboard, which takes his eyes off the road. That's what I tell him when I'm in there with him. I'm your co-pilot. Don't you look at that. You ask me and I'll tell you. Keep your eyes on the road. Reading lights will be brighter, and books will have larger print. Now, my mother-in-law has one of those, I call it neon. It's so bright, but it's one of them blue light reading lights that she has that goes over her chair. It's so bright it blinds me. I can't stand it, but evidently it's what she needs to read. And she has large print. She asks people, buy me large print, because she can't, read it otherwise. Floors will be carpeted or textured, not waxed to a smooth, glaring gloss. Now, see, for me, that wouldn't work, because carpet catches my feet. I shuffle. I have a shuffle, and a lot of old people do. So that's not necessarily a good thing. My grandma Schwartz was a shuffler when she got older. And if you're shuffling, the carpet catches your feet. So that's not good. I need a flat surface. If I'm on a flat surface, I can usually go without my cane. But if there's any texture to it, or like when I go down the steps, I can't go down the steps without it. I'll fall and kill myself. I already fell 4 times. That's what the doctor said. You need to keep the cane with you. And on uneven ground outside, I have to have it because, I have a balance problem. I have the bad back. I have the bad hip, I have the bad knee, the bad feet. So when you add all that up together, I need a kickstand. I can't keep my balance anymore on uneven ground. So it's a problem for me. Aids to hearing. Public address systems and recordings will be engineered to an older adult's auditory range. Because that's a thing that my dad and my husband complain about, that they can't understand women's voices, that their voices are too high and they sound squeaky and they can't understand them. That's what my dad is like, speak slowly, and I'll speak slowly, but he says, try it again, and it's frustrating for me because it's like, dude, this is about as good as it gets. You just need a hearing aids, but you're too stubborn to get them. Park benches and couches will be replaced by angled or clustered seating so that older adults can communicate face to face. And there are, more and more places like that have like tables and like little benches facing each other. Aids to manual dexterity. To compensate for stiff, aging joints, it will become increasingly common to find such items as comb and brush extenders, stretchable shoelaces, Velcro tabs instead of buttons, lightweight motorized pot and pan scrubbers and garden tools, tap burners on faucets, foot mops that eliminate bending voice-activated telephone dialers, long-handled easy grip zippers, and contoured eating utensils. Now, some of these we already have. I've never heard of or seen a comb or brush extender. I guess that is something people could use. Then we have the stretchable shoelaces, the little bungee guys. Again, Velcro is something that we've had for quite a while now. Actually, a lot of older folks' clothing has Velcro. Pot and pan scrubbers, lightweight. I don't know. Most people have dishwashers now. I got one for Christmas because I didn't have one, and I was having to wash my own dishes. And my oldest son said, "I know it's hurting your back and shoulders, and so I got you this tabletop dishwasher. So I have a countertop dishwasher now that I have a dishwasher. So I don't have to wear my back and shoulders out and my bad hand." Scrubbing on dishes. So that was nice. Kudos to my son on that one. Tap turners on faucets. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how that's hard I got arthritis in my hands. That's not hard to turn your faucet. So I don't know. Foot mops. I use a paper towel or wet wipe sometimes. I do the foot mopping thing. But I also have a Swiffer, so if I really have to mop, that's what I use. My husband grew up with, his mom was like 100 years behind the time. They had the mop and the bucket and the ring and all that. It's like, no one does that anymore. Stop. That's disgusting. You're getting in there with dirty water ringing. No, we have Swiffers. My mom had Swiffers, when they first came out, I guess in the late 80s or whatever. Anyway, we've had them since then, and I see no reason to go back to a mop that you gotta be ringing with your dirty hands and dirty water. No, that's gross. Now, my husband's car has a telephone dialer. He's got the Bluetooth thing where his phone connects to his car, his truck. So if he says, dial, Nick or whatever, it'll do that. So, that's pretty cool. Okay, I'm back. That was my dad calling. So, let's see. Where were we? Yeah. Anyway, pain relievers previously packaged in child-proof bottles that stymied arthritic adults, and I have that problem too. I've told my pharmacy, don't put it in the child-proof package because I do have arthritis. Plus, after I had my surgery on my hand, it's weaker. So, I need to be able to open my pill bottles. They're being repackaged in easier to open containers. So, that childproof is very good if you have children in the home. But if you don't have children in the home and you're older, you need to be able to open your pill bottle. So, aids to mobility and safety in the home. Ramps will become more common. Levers will replace knobs. Street lights will change more slowly. And traffic islands will let slow walkers pause and rest. We actually have the big crosswalks in our city when you go closer to the city where they have like a little pad area. So if you don't make it all the way across, you can pause and then go again. Closer shelves and bus platforms will be lower, as will windows for people who sit a lot. And I know a lot of the homes in the 60s had like those little windows up near the top. The house we used to live in when I was a kid, had the windows up near the top. And now we're in an older home here. This dining room window is about mid-level, but in our bedrooms and in our front room, the windows are all the way down not quite to the floor, but only a few feet away from it. So, depends on the house, how old your house is. Regulators will keep tap water from scalding. Soft tubs will prevent slips, add comfort, and keep bath water from cooling too fast. Now, I fell and hurt my back on a tub one time, so the idea of that is actually appealing to me. My son fell and hit his head, had a goose egg, a bone bruise on his head and everything, so soft tubs I think are a good idea. Sensors can monitor the movements of an older person living alone and alert friends or relatives to any unusual pattern. So, I'm always trying to tweak my day and, the way I do things to try and get more out of the day, So that probably wouldn't be a good idea for me because I've changed things, from week to week. So such devices could help older adults stay in their homes rather than go to nursing homes. And, we've done a lot of that with my mother-in-law. She really doesn't want to go, but, I think it's inevitable. But she had the button, and Fire and Rescue the last time they came and picked her up said, this is a cop-out. She's using this button to stay in her home, and she's fallen, a lot now, and she fell like 8 times over a 2-month period. So they said she's not going to be able to keep staying in her home, and if she keeps calling us, we're just going to refuse to come at some point, because we're like, y'all need to put her somewhere or have somebody with her and not use us as a backup plan for her to stay in her home. So even if you got that button, eventually Fire and Rescue is going to be like, you know what, we're tired of coming. So, aids to safety on the road. The increasing number of older drivers on the roads have led highway engineers to think about ways to accommodate the needs of those drivers. For example, by making road signs and pavement markings more clearly visible. Now here, they took away the reflective paint because of the birds. They decided the birds were eating it and it was poisoning them, and so they took it away. So yes, our roads at night that don't have a reflector or don't have the newer phosphorescent looking paint are hard to see. You can't really tell where the line is and where you're at in the road, especially if it's raining. So that's something that does need to be taken care of. Automobiles will be programmed to operate windows, radio, heater, lights, wipers, and even the ignition by verbal commands. Now, my husband's truck already has that. He has Google Assist, where you say, hey, Google, turn the fan down, 2 degrees, and it'll do it. Or say, hey, give us directions to this place, and it'll pull them up and nav you to the place. So we already have that now. Temperature adjustments, because older bodies take longer to adjust to temperature changes, and many have more trouble keeping warm. Homes and hotels will have heated furniture and thermostats in each room. Some people will wear heated clothing and eat heat-producing foods. Now, I've noticed older people do like it hotter. My grandfather at one point had his thermostat over 80 because he was cold. My father has now joked about the fact that he now sees why he did that, because he hasn't quite put it up to 80 yet, but he's had it to 75 because he said, sometimes I get cold. Such innovations will make life easier and more convenient for everyone. And this is because, you don't have to keep making adjustments, or you don't go in, the person's house. Like, we went into my dad's house one time and he had on, a shirt, and this was after he had it a little cold. Excuse me. And a sweatshirt on, and had the heat turned up, and we were like cooking. We were like cooking in the house. So, an environment designed for older rather than younger adults can be more user-friendly for all age groups. And they're saying, kids and old people have a lot in common. They say when you start getting older, you go backwards, and it's back to where you were when a kid. So, young people and old people have a lot more in common. Traffic injuries and deaths involving older Americans have increased since 1990 and are most frequent among men and among those aged 75 or older. Now, my dad was just talking about it's these young people that have these wrecks. Well, as you get older and reactions slow and senses dim, that's why where we live, once you get so old, you have to keep taking, your driving test to make sure you're still competent to drive. Older eyes need more light to see, are more sensitive to glare, and may have trouble locating and reading signs. And now, my husband, the way his vision is, he wears glasses, but sometimes he has problems finding, I didn't see the sign. And I'll be thinking, well, it was right there, but I understand you're driving. So, sometimes I know normal people have problems seeing signs. Thus, driving may become hazardous, especially at night. Older drivers' higher collision risk may be related not so much to loss of visual acuity, sharpness of their vision, as to impaired visual attentiveness, slowed reaction time, less efficient coordination, and slowed visual processing. So as we slow down, everything kind of slows down and gets to be a problem. Declines in cognitive and motor skills may be contributing factors. So again, overall, as you go down, it's not just like one thing or another that is a major problem. Now, some folks, it is. For some folks, their seeing is the main problem. Their hearing is the main problem. Their processing is the main problem. But overall, for most of us, as we age, everything's going to start, as they say, you're over the hill, the downhill slide. Unfortunately, kind of a true thing. And that's where I'm going to leave you today. I hope that helped you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. Please like and share this educational program so we can spread it around the world. Thanks for watching. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. That's all for now. Until next time.